I am on the way.
Hey, good morning, everybody. Good morning, good morning. Glad to see so many people popping in here today. Today is Friday, March 1st, 2019, and this is the LinkedIn for Notaries monthly call. And basically where this stemmed from is I am taking a special course from course creator and author of LinkedIn for Personal Branding, The Ultimate Guide, Sandra. She has a course called LinkedIn Personal Best. And after reading her book and interviewing her last year, I decided to take her course so I could learn how to use LinkedIn way better than I was. It was kind of a neglected social media platform for me. I didn't quite see the value in it. So although I had a profile, I didn't really know what to do with it. It was like having a web resume, which as an entrepreneur just wasn't a huge priority for me. But I started to get different pieces of information, and of course interviewing Sandra and seeing the possibilities there, I got intrigued. I got curious and I dove in, and I'm learning so much about the value of LinkedIn, especially for an entrepreneur who is looking to connect to a specific market. And if you've got my email, which if you're on this call, you probably did, where Grant Cardone in one of his books says, "Who's got my money?" And that philosophy kind of turned me off at first because I'm not real money driven. I'm into the relationships. I like to connect. But what I did after processing that is it really helped clarify who I needed to market my services to. Who could I be of service to was really the question. So as a mobile notary and loan signing agent, that question gets answered relatively easy. We know that signing companies, and if we want to go escrow direct, we know that escrow officers and closing agents or closing attorneys, depending on the situation, are exactly who we want to connect with. So having a tool then like LinkedIn, where all of those ideal customers are gathered and sharing information and looking to connect, makes complete sense for us to be on there. But how to do it? That's the great question. So in Sandra's course, LinkedIn for Personal Best, I'm in the second section now. And it's a big course. It's very comprehensive. So last time we did the strategic profile. Now I've just completed the networking and connecting section of the course. And my mind was blown again at the tools and how easy it is to connect to our ideal customers. If you're following me at all, especially in the Sign and Thrive course and the Morning Mastery course, where we talk about the specific steps that I took to boost my revenue from $1,000 a month to $20,000 a month, you'll see that I spent a lot of time mapping out who I wanted to do business with, researching who I wanted to do business with, and then finding a link, some common connection, so I could connect with them on a deeper, more authentic level than just sending out bulk emails to hundreds, maybe even thousands of potential customers. If I had used LinkedIn back then, I think I would have even more exceptional results than I ever did, because LinkedIn gives us a lot of professional information about people. So what I would like to do is just kind of give you kind of an overview of what I've learned and some of the things that you might be able to implement right away in your own LinkedIn profile. Now, speaking of which, let's talk about the profile yet. You know, there's a system and an unfolding that kind of takes place as we're progressing through this course and these conversations. And a lot of times our instinct, because we're hungry for business, maybe we've got to have business, our instinct is just to jump to the part where we start connecting with customers. What I'm going to urge you to do is to not do that, to go back and update your profile on LinkedIn. If you haven't yet taken Sandra's course, maybe think about jumping in there and taking that for 1 or 2 months until you get the skill sets that you need to optimize that profile. As she says, it's a strategic profile. And the reason for that being is without that part, without that foundation, without a profile that you can be proud of, without a profile that represents you in the best light possible to get customers, it does not make sense to go out and try to connect and build relationships when they're going to be looking at a profile that's less than par or stellar. So definitely spend the time learning how to build that profile and get something that you're proud of, something that is going to represent you and the value that you bring to the relationship and to the marketplace. Now, with that said, let's dive in here a little bit. And I'd like to share a little bit about this information that I've learned. I'm going to share my screen. I'm going to just share my LinkedIn profile with you. Bear with me 1 second here. All right, now everybody should be able to see my LinkedIn profile or my LinkedIn page here, not necessarily my profile. LinkedIn makes it relatively easy to find your ideal customers. Now, I do not have a premium membership to LinkedIn. So this is just the basic free version, just like you can have. There are certain things that you can upgrade to the premium edition. I don't know them yet. I haven't got to that portion of the course. I don't know that if it's even included in the course or not. What I was most interested in is what I can do for free. Hey, speaking of which, check that out. There's Sandra Long right there of Post Road Consulting. She is the course creator and the author of the book. She's going to be our special guest too. She's going to pop in here in just the next few minutes. But as one thing that became very clear, and one thing I really appreciate about Sandra's course is how in alignment she is with me and my style. I'm not a real pushy salesperson. I don't want to be constantly just posting and inundating people with advertisements about how great me and my business is, and that's not what you guys want to do either. This is about a deeper authenticity. And sometimes in social media platforms, it's real easy to forget that, especially when you've got the Facebooks and Twitter and everything along those lines. And we're starting a new business, so we automatically think that we got to advertise to get business. And I'm going to invite you to kind of shift your thinking on that a little bit, because what it really is about is value, bringing value to people's lives. And advertising does not necessarily do that. I mean, you and I both know that we offer great services, so we really want to get out there. We want people to know about our services. But if people just see advertisements from you, beautiful graphics, just advertising your business, they're probably going to start tuning out to that. Instead, we can find ways to bring stories about the journey, the customers that you're helping, how their lives might be changed, impacted, better. Those are the types of things that we want to share. And we'll get more into that in the content section, which will come up on the first Friday of April. But for right now, be thinking about when we do, well, let's dive in here and see how we actually connect with them, because this was overwhelming for me. And I think this is probably why I stopped using LinkedIn back several years ago, because I'm like, what do I do with this? Yeah, this is cool. I mean, this looks really sharp. It's cool. I can have a beautiful little profile here and people can learn about me and all that good stuff. And I can learn about other people. I see posts that are mostly work-related stuff. Yeah, I get it. But how do I use this to help grow my relationships and my business? Well, one thing that I learned here, and I guess this is a pretty standard web thing, is the Boolean Search. And that's where you use you can string words around and find very specific search results. And I know you can use it in Google, and apparently it's something you can do everywhere, but it's something that I just learned. And that got me excited because I love learning new things. I knew there are ways to do this, but again, who has time to stop and research all this stuff? So this is what a huge value that this course brought for me. So a Boolean search basically is a way that you can string certain words or combine certain words or get specific words whenever you search. To give you an idea of how this works, I'm going to not use Boolean search and just do a general search. So I'm just going to type in escrow officer up here in the search window. And watch what happens. I get 61,400 results. And there's obviously some sort of geographical connection here too. It's going to bring up the people who are just closest to me. I'm in the Phoenix area, so it's bringing up all these escrow officers, 61,000 of them that are in my area. You can see I'm even connected to some of them. Then I've got my second tier connections, and it'll go down into my third tier. But I got hundreds and hundreds of pages of the very people that I am going to be looking to connect with for my clients. Now, does that mean I'm going to reach out to all 61,000? No, I wouldn't recommend that. For those of you who have kind of followed my journey, I'll share this with you too. Depending on the business model that you choose, if you're working with signing companies only, meaning you're just an independent contractor working for signing companies, it becomes more of a numbers game. So you want to sign up with like 100, 150 different signing companies. That's going to get your phone ringing and dinging. When you adopt the business model of escrow direct, or a hybrid business model where maybe you work for a couple signing companies, but then you still want to build your escrow direct business, it changes. It's not so much numbers, it's more about the quality. So in my most profitable or my highest revenue performing year, when I was just a mobile notary and loan signing agent, without the national signing company, without the course, without any of that, when I was just me by myself hustling, I had 4 clients. I had 2 signing companies and 2 escrow officers. And I made more money that year than any other year that I was in business. I just happened to have 4 really good clients. So I offer that to you because this is not an overwhelm. This is not about going out and sending out a bulk email to 60,000 people. This is about starting your research, creating your, what I call my Fab 100 list. So we're in here now. I've got a general list of escrow officers, but let's apply that Boolean search methodology here. So on this, what I would do instead is I'm just going to add quotation marks to escrow officer. So it's not going to pull up things that talked about maybe escrow officer in their past. It's not going to talk about if they just mention escrow officers. This is going to be a very specific escrow officer up here. So that dropped it by about half. So now I've got 31,000. And with the Boolean search, you can actually do a little bit of research on this because there's all kinds of different parentheses and ors and ands that you can add to this to really get specific about the type of people that you're looking for in there. I see some chat questions coming in, so bear with me one second. Let's see if I can answer those right now. Oh, thanks guys. Yeah, I'll talk about the move here in just a little bit. I want to make some time on this because we got Sandra Long joining us here. I did get moved in, but you can see I'm not unpacked yet. I've got empty bookshelves and it's driving me nuts, so bear with me. So that's the Boolean search. Now you've got an idea of who's in your area, who you might connect with. You see there's a connect button here. If they are your first level contacts, you can message them directly. If they're not, you have to go through a little more process and try to connect with them. But what it does is it just gives you a little bit of access so you can see who they're worked with, what maybe they're good at, closings, their interest right here. So this might give us some more information. You can see, look, they've got new home sales. They've got some tools and technology that they're really good at. What we're looking for here is just very unique ways that we might connect on a personal level. They might have some of their philanthropy interests here, sports interests, alma maters, all that good stuff might be contacted here. And these are ways that you can use to connect. Now, when it comes to connecting, this is the other really great thing, and I love that Sandra incorporates this into her course as well, is like, I think there was a percentage, I even took a picture of it, but it's like 90% of messages that are selling something are ignored. So only 10% of those messages where you're saying, hi, I'm a mobile notary and I can do this and this and this and this, and I'm 24/7 and I'm amazing. All of those are being disregarded. You know, you might have one or two that wiggle through and they're like, oh, great. Well, thanks for sharing. You know, that's not going to grow your business. That's not what we're talking about when we're talking about connecting here. We're talking about connecting as a human being, from one human to another, and just acknowledging maybe a strength or a virtue that you found on their LinkedIn. Maybe you'll see all kinds of people tagged in promotions, like congratulate Katrina Childers. She was promoted to branch manager in our Mesa office, or thank you for running the charity event last night. Those types of things. That's what we want to talk about and communicate. We want to dial it back a little bit. We want to send them just a quick little note that acknowledges that we think they're great. And then we can follow that up. The fortune is in the follow-up, guys. How we follow up, how we continue to build on that initial contact is where the strength of these relationships come. The mistake that it's not even just most notaries, it's most people that are starting a new business or even in business for years, is that they kind of throw up their whole business right in that first connection. They're just like, blah, here's how great it is, and here's how great I am. And by the way, hi, you know, that kind of communication, which is not communication at all. It's just you with a megaphone talking about how great you are. So there's got to be better ways to communicate on that. And so I encourage you to get very creative when you do that. One of the best ways to bring value to a relationship is to introduce people to each other, to bring them new business or bring them potentially new business. Make connections, ask them who they need to connect with. Those are super powerful ways to just show somebody that you're in this for them too. So it builds trust from that very, very get-go there. Now, here's somebody took themselves on mute. Do we have any questions about that? Or is that an accident? I'll mute you again. All right, I'm just gonna take a look and see. Now, we've got, as I mentioned, oh, good, here she is. Guys, if there's no questions for me, I'm hoping that you have some great questions for Sandra Long. Sandra, you are the author of LinkedIn for Personal Branding, The Ultimate Guide, and you are the course creator for LinkedIn Personal Best. Thank you so much for being here with us today.
I'm so happy to be here. I'm glad to pop in.
Well, I'm glad you made time for us. I really appreciate that. I know I chat with you via text every now and then. I just share with you how much I'm learning from your course, and I really, really appreciate what you put together there. It has opened my eyes completely. And I know that for so many others, just even participating in this call, it's done the same. So thank you for that.
Oh, sure. So fire away with whatever questions.
Yeah, you bet. Okay, so guys, we'll open it up to you. Now, it does not necessarily have to be about networking or connecting. It can be about the strategic profile. What's best practices? What about, I know there's a great question, Sandra, maybe you can help answer, is when they have multiple businesses or multiple gigs happening on the same time, how do they address that in their profile?
Sure. Well, let me say two things, and let me make a comment about the profile and then also make a comment about the networking. Let me start with the networking. One of the things that maybe you've noticed is that there's a lot of people now on LinkedIn that are kind of, I think sort of trying to take advantage of the platform. They're using automation. They're being so, what I consider very pushy. And I think that turns people off. And I think one of the philosophies that I try to bring through in my course and in my book is that it really is about relationships and building trust. And that's going to attract people to you. So it's a whole different, I don't know if you've been talking about this, Bill?
Yeah, sure have. Actually, we spent probably the first 15 minutes of the call talking about that very thing.
Okay. All right. So good. So to your second piece on the profile. Now we have lots of people that are doing multiple gigs. It's just very common, and it's really, really common with your folks. They're doing the notary business and they're doing some other business.
Right.
So the way I suggest doing that is definitely you want to talk about all of it, and you use the different experience sections to list what you're actually, the jobs that you have and the experiences that you have. Fill those out completely, and then think about your headline and your summary as the way to weave it together, because you don't want to cause confusion. If you just put your experience up and someone who knows you from, say, a real estate job finds you and they just don't understand what this is all about, the notary, or if someone finds you from the notary and they see real estate or something else or restaurant or whatever it is. So the summary and the headline helps put it in perspective, and you weave that together. And I think you might even remember from my book, Bill, there's an example of just that situation.
Yes, there is. And I think I use that for mine in particular, because that's the challenge I run into as well. And what's really important for us, especially for the dreamers out there like me, the people we see the big picture, we know where we're going. It's maybe a little difficult to convey. And we've got a society of people who were taught to be specialists, so that you just do one thing. So when you get people like us who are doing multiple things because it's driving our vision, it's our responsibility to weave that together. I love that word. We weave it together and we paint the picture for them. Here's what I do, here's what I offer, and here's where we're going.
Right, because if you don't do that, they are going to be confused.
Yes, they are. Bear with me one second. Hey, Guy, you're sharing your screen, okay? I'm going to take that away here real quick. There we go. Got it. Okay. So it happens all the time. I got a great question here from Ronnie. She says, do you recommend doing the profile on LinkedIn before having any experience as a notary or loan signing agent?
Well, first of all, you need to have, before you were a notary or a signing agent, you did something else. So I would say yes. I mean, we all need a profile. The profile is not just for notaries, it's for really any professional. So even if you were just in school and you'd want to have your school in there, the skills that you have are going to be important, right? Maybe you had some volunteering. Maybe there's some organizations, professional organizations that you belong to. All those are going to be important, and all those make up who you are. So I definitely would think so, yes.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. And here's the other thing too, is a profile is your profile. It's representing you. And we're not here to sell things. So it's not like it's not like escrow officers are out there scouring, looking for loan signing agents, and they're just going to happen across your profile. It's going to happen more naturally, hopefully, where you're posting things and somebody says, oh, I see you do this. Let's talk about that.
Right.
So I think it's totally okay to represent yourself with a profile, strong profile.
Yep.
One of the things that there's 2 points that you make in this particular section I'd really like to bring up when we have an audience too, is to be the person that you wished be the colleague that you wish you had.
Yeah.
You bring that up, and can you talk a little bit about what that means and how we would use that to build relationships?
So I put that in, that was part of a speech that I did. I believe you saw that was a speech. Yeah. I took the proportion of it. Think about it this way. We all would love to go on LinkedIn and have people saying how great you are and congratulating you and mentioning you, right? We all want that. So in order to have that happen, you really need to first be the friend or be the colleague. It's your job. If you act like that with your friends, and it's basically building a supportive network. And that means, and for many of us within LinkedIn, you sort of build, maybe you call it a tribe or a group of people. And, I know, Bill, you've got your group of people, and to be supportive of each other. And, when you know that someone has had a big success, maybe they've just gotten, some kind of opportunity, they've done something of note, and you want to congratulate them, or maybe you want to thank them, doing that in such a nice public way where it's really putting a pat on their back, it comes back to you. And I'm not saying you do it thinking, well, I'm going to do this, I'm going to mention Bill, and then he's going to mention me, right? But what happens is you get doing that with your network, and it will happen. You will be leading the charge, and you'll be getting mentioned and noticed and all of that. Does that help?
Yeah, that's really powerful. And that happens that's what we're doing here is we're taking regular human being connections and we're taking them to an electronic platform by doing that. And I think we've all been in those situations where we've done something really great, something we're really proud of, and we put it out there and one person likes it. But when we post a picture of the kitten hanging from the string to playing tennis, it gets 10,000 likes, and we're like, what is going on here? So we have the power to be exactly what we want out of our friends, out of our colleagues, whatever that is. So it's important to share and connect on that way. That really does. That's part of that win-win and pay it forward kind of.
It is pay it forward. And I think so many people because I have, I run a lot of classes and work with a lot of companies, and so many people are afraid or nervous. They feel like it's so professional. I'm going to make a mistake. And, if you're paying it forward and you're supporting your network, meaning you're, congratulating someone who has a new job, right? Or someone who has a new book, or someone who has a new class, or whatever it is, congratulating them or thanking them. I love to thank my clients. One of the things, I was in New York yesterday and I took a picture, and I've always asked permission. May I put this online? And I ask permission, then I put it on and I thank them and mention them. And many of you can probably do the same thing if, depending on your clients, if they want to be online, say, I would love to thank you. And to me, when you're thanking people and you're being helpful and congratulating people, it definitely perfect. It's always good.
There's so much power in that, especially for us as mobile notaries and loan signing agents. Every now and then we're seeing people at the worst times, but most of the time there's some thrill or some sort of excitement involved. We're participating in some life event where we could probably share that and thank the people that we're helping out. I love that. And one of the things that you bring up in your course is to amplify the good news.
Yeah.
So anytime you do see people sharing this kind of good stuff, it's okay to reshare or post or comment on
anything. That's the whole idea, is amplify the good news. Absolutely.
Love it. Got a question here from Tom. He says, Sandra, I created and used LinkedIn using my work email account. Yeah. I've retired and no longer have access to that network. How can I change my LinkedIn account and profile to my personal email?
Okay, so one of the little courses, one of the little lectures in my course is that always, when you have a LinkedIn account, you always have all your emails should be in there for this very reason. Actually, there's for a couple of reasons, but this is one of the key reasons. So for any of you that have LinkedIn accounts already, make sure you add all your other email addresses. And for Tom, you should be able to try to log in, and I don't know if he can log in, but at least try to log in using that old email if you remember the password, and then go in and add your new email. Okay, so you want to try to do that. If he doesn't have it, then that's going to be a problem. But you really, the first thing, if you have the old email, you should be able to go, even if you're not like using that email, you should be able to log in as long as you have the password.
Yeah, right? Without the password, he's kind of out of luck on that one, huh? So would that mean that Tom would have to recreate a new profile?
So I don't know how much he's put into it, how much effort he's put into it. There's ways to merge accounts. There's ways to eliminate accounts. But if you don't have the email and you don't have the password, that's pretty much a problem, right?
Gotcha.
So ask him if he remembers the password, if he could guess the password, because that's going to be key. You could try guessing it.
Wonderful. And he says, thanks, I'm going to give that a try.
Give it a try. Okay. I'll keep my fingers crossed for you, Tom.
And then Teresa has a great question here too. And I know your course dives into this super deep, and we went over this in both December and January's call. But Teresa says, any tips on writing a good bio? When I write about myself, it sounds so cheesy to me. Do you have a point that you could offer there?
Well, I think when you say bio, I think you mean the summary section. Okay.
I think so too, yeah.
And LinkedIn calls it a summary. It's really an essay. Okay. It's really like an essay about yourself. And it is the one thing that I think requires the most brain power So I always tell people, don't just sit at your computer and start writing, because you really need to think about how are you positioning yourself. Really, really give it some thought. And I like it to be in the first person. So meaning it's going to be I or my, but I also caution you to write in the first person, but don't make it sound boastful. So that's why you really need to think through what you're saying. I mean, this topic is a big topic. In my book, I think it's 20 pages long. I mean, it's so much, there's a lot of different ways you can do it. Look at my profile, look at Bill's profile to see some examples, and then start noticing people that you like in terms of their profile. But you have up to 2,000 characters to use. And I like the idea of starting with a story. That's kind of what I do. A lot of, for me, just taking like your resume and making it into a bio and sort of uploading it, that is not interesting. And that's what you see all the time, where a person just says, I worked here for this many years and I went to this school for this many years. You already have that in your profile. So your summary is your opportunity to tell your story. Maybe you're telling your story about how you help your clients, the thrill of helping your clients, right? Wouldn't that be more interesting for them when they find you? So think about who you want to read it, what you want to have them appeal to, maybe a little story. Hopefully that will help.
Yeah, and I'll tell you, that really clicked for me because I was so matter of fact in mine. When we first started this, guys, I started taking her course in November, but the first call in December, I was even embarrassed to show you guys it was literally just, here's what I do and do that. But what really clicked for me is all of that is in there. We all have the same certifications, right? We're certified by the National Notary Association. We have training courses. We're loan signing agents. What do people want to work with? They want to work with people that are passionate about what they do, that they're likable, that they have some personality, something that they're going to get along with. So this summary section is your chance to really let your personality shine through. How do you like interacting with your customers? Why do you do this business every day? It really gives us a chance to paint that picture for clients that most of them don't even understand what a notary public does, especially a mobile notary or a loan signing agent. So this really gives us a chance to tell the story.
The golden opportunity.
Yeah, exactly. So I've got another question here that says, can we get rid of the trolls on LinkedIn? Can we control who can and cannot view?
So yes, you can. Well, first of all, one thing I would say is be concerned or be careful of who you're connected with. I mean, if you're connected with people that are bad actors, then I would unconnect with them. If they're putting up things that are offensive or irritating, you don't need to be connected with everybody that you're connected to. So you can just unconnect from them. That's one thing. You can also unfollow someone. So what that means is you can connect with them, but if you unfollow them, you don't see their posts. So there's lots of different things you can do, but it's your job. I mean, you manage what you see.
That's great. And one of the things that the point you really drove home in the previous section of the course was how particular you really should be about accepting connection requests. Treat this like on LinkedIn. This might be different than in other social media platforms for some people, but on LinkedIn, this is really about knowing the people that you're connecting with. This is a real close, almost personal audience for you. So it's okay to not accept connection requests from people you don't know. Or
right. I mean, I feel like there's different strategies about that. I think definitely know and trust is important. What I think the biggest mistake is that people don't take the time to proactively connect with the people that they do know and trust. And then they get these invitations and they accept them. And I think sometimes it's okay to accept someone you don't know, but have a criteria of who you want to be connected with, and then have a sort of a plan so that it's not just random people that you have no reason or no plan around it. So
lovely. Have the plan. So Jason has a comment here, and I'll kind of address it first, and then Sandra, if you want to chime in with a summary about how valuable it is, I would welcome it. So Jason says, hi, I'm late to the party, but I really don't understand LinkedIn or how it helps with business. It's confusing for me. So what I want to say first is, Jason, I know you're new to the whole series here as well. So I encourage you to watch some of the previous videos because I was in the same boat you were. I didn't understand the value of LinkedIn. I didn't understand how important it was for me to represent me and my business correctly. I also didn't even understand how you use it to find your ideal customer. And that's part of the reason that I took Sandra's course, and I'm learning that and sharing so much information with you guys too, because it's like having a networking meeting with all of your ideal customers anytime you want it at your fingertips. I mean, every escrow officer, every closing agent, every hospital administrator, every tow company owner, whatever it is going to be right here, and you can find them right on LinkedIn. Sandra, what do you have to say to questions like that?
Well, I understand it, and don't feel alone. I mean, I hear it, this is what I do all the time, and I hear, people have questions about it and are not familiar with it. So let me just say this, that there's over 600 million people on LinkedIn right now around the globe. And the people that are on LinkedIn, compared to other social media, it's the most affluent and the most educated people. So they're the people that will spend money, that will hire us, right, are the ones that are on LinkedIn. They are very well informed people. And this is where also LinkedIn is the place where people now are getting their news, their information. And it's been proven that, the whole idea of selling and buying has completely changed over the past several years. If you went back even 10 or 15 years ago, there was many more cold calls or conversations with people you didn't know. And now that is just not as common. So most of the people that are doing business, they want to do business with people that they know and trust. So they're asking their network for referrals. They're going online to see, before they even take that phone call, even if they're referred, they're going to say, do I want to, so let's say I'm referred to Bill. Do I want to talk to Bill? I'm really busy. I'm going to check him out and say, is there a reason I should talk to him? Is he credible? So I'm going to go on his profile before I have that call to decide whether I want to, talk with him. So it's a place where they validate you, they find you, you find other people. It is really the professional place where everything's happening. And so if you're not in there, what happens is if people search, even if they search for you by Google, they put your name in Google, and what are they going to find? They're going to find, I don't know, maybe it's articles, maybe it's Facebook, maybe it's Instagram. You really want them to find LinkedIn, because that's where your professional presence is displayed, and that could lead them to look at, because LinkedIn typically will come up very close to the top, if not the top, and then they'll come to your profile, and that's, again, an opportunity for you. And you're basically influencing the sale before you're even into a sales conversation.
Exactly. And I can speak to that directly, especially, guys, when you start reaching us to certain levels within an organization. I'm talking about business development managers, vice presidents, presidents of company or organizations or sales teams. When you start presenting your services at that level, they go to LinkedIn. They want to know, what are you interacting? What's your influence? What's your network? How do you present yourself there? Makes a big difference on whether or not I'm going to get a call with a executive level.
Yeah.
Or what do we call them? Is it C-levels?
Yeah. C-suite. Yeah. C-level.
C-suite. Yes, exactly. So I highly recommend that you take this seriously and walk through it. Even Sandra's book, where I started, greatly helped me out. I learned so much in that book, and then the course is just built on that. And Teresa asks, when does the course start again? That's the beautiful thing. Sandra, you want to speak a little bit about your LinkedIn Personal course?
Oh, thanks. It's open right now. And in fact, Bill, you have a discount for people, right?
I do. Yeah. It's here. I'll post the link right here. It's 20% off.
For Bill's friends.
Yeah. Fans of Notary Coach. There's a link in there for you. And it's open enrollment. So you can jump in.
Yeah.
And learn. And then Sandra and I are kind of working on ways that we can blend it in and have more conversations like this on a regular basis too, that ties it directly into the mobile notary loan.
And I want to thank some of you. I don't know who's on the phone or anything, but thank those of you that are in my course. I really love the people that are from the Notary group. I get great questions, and some of the questions I've gotten have prompted me. I make little videos for you and to answer your questions. And I really loved it. And also for any of you that are in the course, if you're not connected with me on LinkedIn, please, actually all of you, anyone, I would love to connect with any of you. But I have a few people in the class that I've been trying to find on LinkedIn. So if you're one of those people, I definitely want you to connect with me. But anyone here, I'd love to as well.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
And then Patricia says, okay, hi, Bill. You mentioned that you started working on your profile in November. Have you noticed an added value or benefit to your business since then? Yes, definitely. So my business is a little bit different. So I chose to focus on the course aspect of it, but my connections have gone up, and I'll share the results with this probably on that the first Friday of April call. And I'll kind of show you, because I took measurements from the very beginning, and I'll share what the results are. But the connections have skyrocketed. LinkedIn messages have definitely skyrocketed. And believe it or not, escrow connections have increased as well. In fact, I've got 2 new commercial clients from the posts and the interactions and the passion just sharing the business has brought. So there, I would definitely say it has more than paid for itself, for sure. And then, okay, that looks like it's all the chat questions. Anybody else have a last minute question for Sandra before we let her get back to her day? Okay, password question. I don't know my password because it's an automatic password I have. If I get a new computer, I guess I'm done. No, there's always the link that says forgot my password. As long as you have access to your email address or your email inbox, you can get whatever you need. It's just like any other platform. It's not that secure or locked out. You just have to have access to your email address that you have on record with them. And that's what Sandra was saying. There is a place, and I actually did this. I learned it from her course. There's a place to add multiple emails. So if you get locked out of one email address, you'll have those backups to help you out.
Definitely want to do that. You want to do that. And yeah, I mean, one thing I'll say also, LinkedIn's always changing. It's changing on a regular basis. So that's something you just have to be ready for.
Definitely. Definitely. Now, let's see. Should we put our link on our business cards?
Yes, definitely. And first you want to clean up your URL, and you can, I have a little video on that, but you want to have a nice looking URL, and that makes it easier for people to find you. But if your page is optimized, they should be able to put your name in, and then they can find you from that way. But some of us have very common names. I like the idea of having a cleaned up URL, using it on your resume, on your business card, any documentation. Good idea.
Yep, you can definitely, you can customize that URL in LinkedIn. The other thing that a lot of people do is they will, in lieu of an actual website, they'll use their domain like virginiamobilenotary.com, and they'll point that domain to their LinkedIn profile.
Yeah.
So that way it's real easy, virginiamobilenotary.com, and it takes them right to that profile. So it's real easy to remember versus linkedin.com/Bill Soroka or whatever you might end up getting.
Yeah, that's great. That's great.
And then I have one more question, which I don't know anything about, so I'm going to leave it to you. What about private mode?
So when you say private mode, there's a whole tab under privacy you could look at and see. I'm not really sure what the specific question is. There's a lot of different privacy settings. Okay.
Ronnie, can you elaborate on that a little bit? What you mean by private mode? We'll see if she can get back to it. Arthur asks, how do I add a LinkedIn link to the signature line of my email? That, I think, depends on the type of email program you're using. In Gmail, you can do it in signatures.
Signatures for Outlook, yeah. I mean, on the privacy thing, there's a ton of privacy settings. I think maybe they're saying looking at people without them seeing that it's you. That's maybe what they're asking. You can view people and then be in sort of hiding and be private. That's probably what the person's asking. And I don't recommend doing that.
Oh, okay. It relates to a question. I'm sorry, I missed it up above, but they pointed me in the right direction. It says,
okay.
I noticed that some look at my profile in private mode.
Yeah.
Why is that? How do you look at someone in private mode?
So, okay, that's a setting, and there's a ton of settings. There used to be like 8 and now there's about 70. There's a lot of settings, but there's a setting where you can be viewing other people's profiles in private, so they can't see who you are. Now, I don't recommend that for most of the time that you're using LinkedIn. The only time I would recommend doing that is if you're, I don't know, looking for an ex-girlfriend or something, or an ex-boyfriend or something like that. But when it's from a business perspective, you're always better off having them see that you looked at them, because a good portion of them are going to look back at you. And that's the whole point of being online. You want to have a great profile. You want to have a great network, and you want people to look at your profile. That's going to cause interest. So I don't recommend doing that at all. So when you go to look at who's viewed your profile, if you're on the free version, you're going to see the last 5 people. But if they are looking in private mode, you will not see them. So
that's really good to know. And I encourage you. I know on other social media platforms like Facebook, there's a lot of people who, they mix the letters up of their name. They come up with cute names. They have weird pictures and stuff. LinkedIn is not the place to do that. We're not going into stealth mode. We're not avoiding people. We're connecting to people. And this is strictly professional stuff. So we're not, there's very little political stuff on there. There's very few just random posts. This is usually kept very, very professional. So you want to adhere to that, and then also show who you are. I think this is important too. If we can just talk real quick about using the personal profiles as a personal profile, not as a business profile. Can you address that?
Sure. And that's an issue. And I had a couple of people actually in your group that had the Notary name of their company as their personal profile, and you can't do that. So a personal profile, you have a first name and you have a last name. You can't put your company name. And I know that some of your group has done that, and I've mentioned it to them online to change it. So there's another feature on LinkedIn called a company page. That's where you can have your company presence, and you can't have that without a personal. So the thing is, for all of you here, the place to start is a personal page, is your personal profile, and build out your relationships. And then if you get into LinkedIn and love it like Bill does, then it probably makes sense to also add a company page. And I think I mentioned to you, Bill, I'm developing a course on that as well.
I'm waiting for that, because I'm on baby steps for me, so I don't get overwhelmed, but I'm really looking forward to that. Yeah,
they're two separate things. Now, one thing that's great is they work together. So if somebody goes and types in your company name on Google, they're going to see not only your website, they're going to see the company page on LinkedIn. Right? So from Google, it's better. And within LinkedIn, if they put in, Virginia Notary or whatever it is, or Pennsylvania Notary, they will also be able to find the page, and it can link to you as a person. So, Bill, you can link to your company, and your company can link to you. So that it all works together, but you start with a good personal presence. There's the dog.
Sorry about that. So that's awesome. And so really good news too from Tom. He was able to access his old LinkedIn profile using that old password. So he has.
Yay, Tom.
The day is saved by Sandra Long once again. Sandra, thank you so much.
When you go in there, listen, Tom, add your other emails, add every other email you have. If you have 3, add them all in. LinkedIn will send you, you have to validate it. They're going to send you a link. Make sure you validate it. Okay. And then you make primary your Gmail or whatever, your personal email. Make that as your primary, and you'll be all set.
So we got a question about your book, LinkedIn for Personal Branding.
Yeah.
The Ultimate Guide.
Right.
Is on Amazon. Mm-hmm. So I'm just going to type the name of that in there for you so you guys can find that for sure. And then I also included a link in the chat window for the course if you're interested in that. Sandra, thank you so much for spending so much of your time with us today. I really appreciate it.
Well, I just want to say good luck to everybody. I really love your group, and they've been so fun to have in the course. And I just think you're doing a great job, Bill, with everybody. So have a great weekend.
Thank you so much. All right, guys, thank you so much for growing yourself and your business on a Friday morning. Enjoy the rest of your weekend.